In all of the videos so far, we've dealt with major keys and major scales. We've seen that every key signature has one major scale associated with it. Now, the defining characteristics of a major scale are that the interval of a major third exists above the tonic, as well as an interval of a perfect fifth above the tonic. So in other words, the third degree of the scale is an interval of a major third from the root. And that's basically what makes a major scale major, what gives it its personality. But each key signature also has an associated minor scale with it. There are actually several variations of minor scales, but in this video we're going to concentrate on the purest, most basic incarnation, and that's called the natural minor scale. So for every possible key signature, there's one major scale and one minor scale that use that same key signature. Now these two scales are related in that they share the same key signature. So each major scale has a related minor scale associated with it that shares the same key signature. I just want to drive that home because I'm going to show it to you in a moment and want to make sure you understand that. Now the defining characteristic of a minor scale that differentiates it from a major scale is that the interval from the root to the third degree of the scale is a minor third and not a major third like in a major scale. Now because of this, minor scales sound different from major scales because they're built on a different pattern of intervals. And even though they share the same key signature, they have different tonal centers. I'm going to get to all this in a moment. You'll see what I mean. Basically, music in a minor key has a different sound and a different emotional feel than music in a major key. Music in minor keys are generally considered sad compared to major keys, which are considered happy. And it's that minor third degree that gives it this defining characteristic. So this associated minor scale is built on the sixth degree of the major scale. We call this the relative minor of the major key. So you can always figure out the relative minor of any key signature by finding the sixth degree, or counting down from the root, count down 3 semitones. So let's look at our basic example of C major. Here's our C, and here's our C major scale. And as we know, it's whole tone, half tone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, half tone. Now, if we start that on the sixth degree, which is A, we're going to get an A natural minor scale. So that's an A natural minor scale. Now, the intervals are different. For example, now the A is the root. Instead of the C being the root, as in C major, the A is the root or the tonic of this key, A minor. We're in the key of A minor now. So they have different functions. There's different intervals. The B is the second degree. And then the C is the third degree, and it's the flattened third degree. If this was A major, it would be A, B, C sharp. But it's A, B, C. So the intervals that we use for natural minor scales are whole tone, half tone, whole tone, half tone, whole tone, whole tone. Let's see what this looks like in notation view. Here's the C major scale, and you're probably very familiar with it by now, but here it is. And now let's look at the A minor scale. So it shares the same key signature, but the A is the tonic. And we have a whole tone and then a half tone. The C is the third degree of the scale, then a whole tone to the fourth degree, a whole tone to the fifth degree, then a half tone to the sixth, a whole tone to the seventh, and a whole tone to the eighth. So it's got a different relationship of intervals between the different degrees of the scale. Let's listen to what this sounds like. Very different mood and feel to it. Let's look at another example. Here's E flat, an E flat major scale. Now, what's the relative minor? Well, we're in the key of E flat, so if I count to the sixth degree, I'm going to get to C. Or if I go down 3 half tones, 1, 2, 3, that brings us to the sixth degree, an octave lower. All you need to do is count 3 half tones down and know that the relative minor of E flat is C. So C minor will occupy the same key signature of 3 flats. So here's the C minor scale, and in this case, to be specific, the C natural minor scale. That's what we're looking at in these videos, or in this video. And here it is, starting on the key of C. So again, just to reiterate, the point I want to drive home here is that every key signature and major scale has a relative minor, and that's found based on the 6th degree of the major scale, or 3 semitones down from the root, which is the same thing. Now, if you're in a minor key like this, we're in C minor, let's say you're looking at this and you want to find out what's the associated major key that goes with this, we call that the relative major, and that's the one built on the 3rd degree, the E flat. So if you count up 3 semitones from the root, which is C in a C minor scale, we get E flat, and that's the relative major. So the relative major of a minor key is built on the minor 3rd, and the relative minor of a major key is built on the 6th degree. So this is the basic architecture of a natural minor scale, and if you want to practice them and get familiar with it, you can use the exercises from the last video and practice the minor scales over them. So for that first example of C, instead of going up and down the C major scale, you would go up and down the C minor scale in this key in 3 flats. And then after that, let's say we wanted to do D flat minor. What key would that be in? That's right, it would be in the key of E major, since D flat, or C sharp in this case, is the relative minor of E. And then after that, you do the D minor scale, and that's in the key signature of 1 flat, which is F. 1 flat is shared by both F major and D minor, and so on like that. So that's the natural minor scale. Practice them, get used to them. And in the next video, we're going to look at a couple of variations called the harmonic minor scale and the melodic minor scale. Stay tuned. See you for more next time.